Right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our introduction video, as well as all the collateral that you need to know what Sherlock is. Sherlock is the new buzzword amongst our clients, those who have heard about it. So today, we're going to give you the opportunity to see what Sherlock is, how it works, and what the challenges are that it will be addressing. I just want to see if there is the Malaga, if you wouldn't mind just checking the chat section, would be great, please. Right. So in the flow of the presentation today, we're going to talk about some insights. We're going to discuss the value proposition of Sherlock and what it is. I'm going to take you through a demonstration of Sherlock and also what is coming next. So I'm just being told I need to check my audio settings. Give me 1 minute. All right, it's all good now. Perfect. So, by way of introduction, my name is Myron Bach, and I am one of the product managers at Caseware Africa. My portfolio consists of our practice management suite of products, which would now include Caseware Sherlock. Right. So the challenges, there's quite a number of challenges that we face in the market today, right? Especially in the audit and accounting industry, to evolving quite rapidly on a very global scale. And there's some key market insights and trends shaping our industry. So the one is the increased regulatory scrutiny, the rise of big data, as well as the technology adoption. And the last two are the areas that we want to focus on today, right? So big data and the adoption of technology. So with that being said, Caseware Sherlock is our latest addition to our practice management suite of products. It is a cloud-based application for practice intelligence, and it resides on Caseware Cloud, offering the extraction and automation of data from your Caseware engagement files. Right? It allows, or it takes advantage of Caseware Cloud. It takes advantage of the security by Caseware Cloud. And one of the big values, which I'm going to show you later in the presentation, is really being able to mine data, big data sets, get that raw data, make useful information out of that, both from your engagement files, but also overlaying that data with other applications in your practice. One of the big things that we hear is practices sometimes have a lot of disparate systems, right? So for you to compile a report, you might need to combine, 2 or 3 reports, which is usually done in Excel. And that then allows you to eventually create your final report. And that can be a very, very time-consuming and expensive exercise, right? Especially considering the frequency at which this reporting has to happen. So, as I said, the Caseware Sherlock is really an accounting practice intelligence tool. And what that means is it's a one-stop application that will extract all data from your Caseware engagement files that's currently on Caseware Cloud. That extraction happens automatically the data is transformed in a way that you can use to visualize the information in a meaningful way, right? One of the challenges usually is, I have all this data, what do I do with it, right? And how do I connect it to other data points in my firm? And this is really what we are aiming to support practices and practitioners with, right? To say, we give you a platform, we give you the technology and the flexibility to be able to enable this efficiency enhancements, right, in your practice, and ultimately freeing up time spent on reporting. So just, there we go. All right, so what does this look like? So Caseware Sherlock, like I said, is part of our Caseware ecosystem, so Caseware Cloud ecosystem. And it's an application that sits on Caseware Cloud, and it literally extracts all the data points from within your Caseware Working Papers engagement file. We transform that data to make sure it links, and then we load that into a data warehouse that allows you to take advantage of the security, the scalability, the integration part, and ultimately being able to view that in a format that makes sense, right? And that's easy for you to use for reporting purposes. So if we look at the type of data, so every Caseware engagement file has certain database files, and I'm sure all the Caseware users out there already know and are familiar with these data files, or database files rather. So that's your trial balance, your mapping information, your engagement properties, your document manager and sign-offs, and your issues. So anything that, I should say, almost anything that's recorded in a Caseware file that gets stored to a database, we can extract and make available for you to utilize in a means that makes sense for you and your practice specifically. There are quite a number of unique variations in terms of, what's the data I want to see, how do I want to see it, and ultimately taking that and transforming it to make sense for your practice. Now, again, I spoke about, allowing flexibility. And the one thing that Sherlock really enables is flexibility for the end user. So there's three elements ultimately of Caseware Sherlock. There we go. The one being Sherlock Reader. And what Sherlock Reader allows you to do is view any out-of-the-box dashboards that we as Caseware Africa have put together for you and said, you can subscribe to these dashboards, and it will populate those dashboards with whatever data is available on your cloud instance, whatever data is available within your Caseware engagement files. So it's really a click and open, and you apply the filters as you need, and we'll go through that. The next two is Sherlock Builder and Sherlock API. Now, Builder is just that one additional level of flexibility, especially for firms who want to custom design their own, unique dashboards, visualizations, specific data points that they want to visualize, and have the in-house skill to do this type of visualization. Right? A lot of this work, like I said, is currently done in, Excel or the likes of Power BI or all of that. But the one advantage that Sherlock adds to that entire workflow is you have never before been able to automatically extract all the data from all engagement files, into a central point to be able to overlay that with other data in your firm. Right? So Builder, like I said, allows you to custom design your own dashboards. And then the third one, which I think is quite exciting, is Sherlock APIs. So our API, just for those not familiar, I always explain an API as the waiter in a restaurant, right? So you are at your table, you looking through the menu, and you place your order. Your waiter then comes, they take your order, they take it to the kitchen. Kitchen prepares, the waiter picks up, and they bring your food or order to you. And that waiter is the API component. Right? It allows you to send and receive data between different applications using an automated programmable interface. So the ability to be able to extract Caseware data through an API allows you then to push it into a third-party application, extract data from your time and billing application, for example, and look at how those compare. Right? So per client, what was the time spent on that client, on a specific engagement? How much did I invoice this client for the work done? What type of work did I do, and what was the split in invoicing? So it just opens up a whole different or a whole new level of possibilities in transforming this the data insights. And I know a couple of people on this call already who are probably smiling right now purely because of the APIs. So that's going to be an exciting one. Okay, right. So what we are aiming to do with Sherlock, right, is really to enable practices. I need to move this thing over. Is to really enable practices with the ability to achieve. Right? So the first thing that we aim to do through Sherlock is provide clients with the mechanism to be able to have visibility across engagements, right? To be able to actively monitor engagements through different stages. Looking at the completion, as well as being able to drill down into data to have a more, we refer to, comprehensive view or insight. And yes, all this data is available in a Caseware working paper engagement file, and you can go into that file and you can view anything that you need. Where the value with Sherlock lies on top of that is the fact that you can have an aggregated view of all this information, right? And you are not, limited to specific views. It's really fully customizable, unless you opt for, out of the box type of dashboard. Then on the practice and project management side, and this is really part of our initial offering that we would be making available. And it's really to be able to monitor multiple engagements, right? To be able to see how many engagements do I have for a specific reporting year or financial year? How many of these documents have been signed off? How many review notes have been raised, and how many of them are outstanding? So we're going to go through all of that now, and it's just going to give you an idea of what is possible with Sherlock. Right, so I think with that, I'm going to jump straight into the exciting part, right, which is the demonstration. So with that said, let's switch over here. All right, it seems I need to just share my screen slightly differently. Let's do this one. Perfect. All right, so many of you are very familiar with Caseware Cloud. So in Caseware Cloud, like I mentioned, Sherlock is an add-on application that sits on top of Caseware Cloud. So if we go into Caseware Cloud, you'll notice where you are used to seeing all your applications on your left-hand side. So you've got the secretarial and the tax, ISAE, all of that. You would now have a Sherlock Reader application. And once you enter the Sherlock Reader application, it gives you a view of dashboards that are available to you, right? And again, these are dashboards that either we as Caseware Africa have put out as defaults, but it could also be custom dashboards that are done or designed within your firm that you might want to share with your users. Okay. Now, you'll notice I've got quite a number of dashboards here, but today is really about illustrating the capability and the power of Sherlock and what is possible in doing this, right? It's more so focusing on that element than what the existing dashboards look like. So put together a couple of dashboards that we're going to run through, right? So the first one is looking at the engagement overview. That's what we call this dashboard. And the engagement overview dashboard really aims to do just that. Give you insight into your Caseware engagement files on an aggregate level. And then being able to drill down and filter according to your engagements. Now, a couple of things to note. The first one being every dashboard has a set of controls. And the controls allow you to filter the widgets on your dashboard to be able to drill down to very specific insights. Right? And if we look at, you'll notice everyone has different kind of selections. So here we can filter by client name, by file name, by year end. But we can also go down, have a look at all our widgets or all the data that is being displayed and click through on the graphs, right? So like you can see, this graph, according to jurisdiction, doesn't have a lot of information compared to the other graphs. If I go and I say, well, let's see what is happening, let's say in my 2022 year, right? Now I can see, okay, so these are the number of clients that I will be servicing across the different type of entities, right? So I can see I'm servicing 17 clients with that 2022 financial year, and it's a total of 52 engagement files, right? And these could be, you know, audit engagements, compilations, reviews, etc. And then I can go and say, okay, so I'm servicing all these clients, companies. I can look at the type of engagements that's being done. So I have 42 audit, 10 compilation as an example, and I can see here's one audit, which is the Afrikaans of audit. And I can go and look at the ownership, right? Is this listed or unlisted entities? And listed or unlisted entities? And where are these clients based, right? What jurisdiction are they based? And looking at two more things there. The one being, and I'm going to remove this filter just to show you what it would look like. This one being, are there changes in my client's year ends? Right? And you know, in Caseware Working Papers, for example, in the info store, you would say, you know, yes, I'm reporting for this client is reporting for 12 months, or no, it's more or less than 12 months, right? And that generally indicates that there's a change in financial year end. And we are, like I said, we're mining all that information, so you can extract it and it gets visualized. We don't have it on this specific graph, but another feedback item that came through is industry filtering my clients per industry. And I mean, that information, like I said, is available. And I'm going to, at the end, talk about what are the next steps to get the most optimal and well populated or defined visuals for our clients. Right, and then the last one on this tab is I can view the audit opinions that we've issued as a firm, and this would be, obviously this won't tie up to the number of engagements because a lot of them would still be in progress. If we move to the next tab, now this tab has slightly more detail, right? Because here we're starting to look at more of the detail inside the engagement file. So the first one, I can see, you know, how many Caseware files each of my clients have. And I know this is something that has happened with our clients in the cloud, where when a file is rolled forward or it's created for a new client, it sometimes gets published to the wrong entity, perhaps, or the files for a group of companies gets published to one company. So there's a number of outliers and reasons that you can deduce from seeing how many files are contained within each client on Caseware Cloud and for each financial year. Then I can look at, well, what are the outstanding issues across you know, all my clients. And I can see, well, I'm sure for all of you, this is not a graph that makes you all fuzzy, right? So we can then say, okay, well, this is concerning. Let's look at this 2020, what was that, 2021 engagements. And I can see these are all the issues, right? That's the client that I've got for that file. And these are the issues that have been raised and that have not been started. And it says not started because here I filtered by not started. We can look at all the ones that are waiting on someone. And it extracts all the issues, the issue status, the name, the resolution, who it's assigned to. So again, it gives you that insight on the go and allows you to easily then do your follow-ups, right, with your respective team members. And this is generally a very useful dashboard for your partners or managers. And like I said, we've got some exciting stuff coming still for that. So I want to go back and show you another one, which is an administrative oversight, right? So this dashboard we've built specifically around managing engagements within the practice, number one, managing versioning within the practice. So for example, you know, I can see the first one tells me all my engagement files per year end, and it's something similar that we saw in the other dashboard, the engagement dashboard. But the difference here is I can now start looking at how many files I have, what version of these files what version of Caseware are these files on, or were they created on? We can start delving into the lockdown status of all these engagement files, right? Apologies. How many have been locked versus how many are unlocked? And I think we all know that that is quite a tricky area to navigate. I've found that clients reporting it's time and resource intensive in order to monitor, to keep track. It's a very manual process, making sure that files are locked down and all the notes are cleared and all the sync information is cleared to make sure that no one can access it again and it is available to be stored in your archive. So let's see, let's take out 2018 right here. So in the 2018 year, I can see, well, got 29 engagements there. These engagement files are split between Caseware 2018, 2019, 2018 to 2022 versions. And I can see out of those 29 files, 29 of them are not locked down. Right? And that should be, or would be, an immediate red flag within, I think, any practice, right? Granted that different practices operate differently, right? For some, it means locking down a file within Caseware. For others, it might mean taking that file, creating a read-only copy offsite that no one has got access to. So there are different ways to interpret this. And I think the one important thing to highlight is with Sherlock and the data we're extracting, we're also trying to create a level of efficiency through best practices and defining those best practices, right? So for example, if you're creating a new engagement file, right, what are the first key metrics that you need to complete? And once you put these best practices into place and all the data gets captured consistently, your data becomes richer and richer over time. It allows you to do so much more with it, as opposed to having different teams operate in different ways. Right? It creates disparity. It creates a lot of data hygiene issues, which it increases the overhead required in order to get to an optimal outcome of reporting. Right? And this is one of the areas that we're really trying to support practices with through Caseware Sherlock. Okay, let's just remove that filter. You can see all of it. Another area that has become increasingly a concern for our clients is the default SUP. I think everyone knows SUP, the login, right? So we see a lot more clients moving to the Caseware Cloud Working Paper security, and also those on the data store also moving to the Cloud Working Paper security, purely because of the reduced maintenance, the reduced overhead. Right? And you'll notice there's a golden thread between all these practices and between all these enabling features that we're providing. And that is to optimize efficiency within a practice, right? It's all about, apologies, all about practice management and getting to an output faster. So I can see, well, I've still got this SUP on a number of my engagement files. So Berlin Tech has got 2 files that still have that SUP username on it, but I can see that 2019 year end. So, I've probably already gotten rid of those files. We might have moved to a different type of security afterwards. but it gives you that insights. And I know in larger firms specifically, it becomes quite difficult when you have to manage users and security on a per engagement level, right? I've seen firms where that function sits with the audit manager, the audit supervisor, sometimes the audit partner. And that is one of the best practices, right, that we want to help firms define. Where should that function sit? What is the best way of managing that function? And how do I make best use of that function in order to enable my practice reporting and efficiency? Right. Similar to that, we've got two other graphs here showing the recently accessed engagement files per financial statement template. Now, this is an interesting one because, as you know, every year we as Caseware Africa release our updated financial statements template, our assurance templates, which is, by the way, coming out in November. And one of the things that you want to make sure in your practice is all my teams have to be running on the latest template. All my clients that I'm working on need to be on the latest template. And this, obviously there's exceptions, right? There's exceptions to the rule, but one of our core competencies at Caseware Africa is to support and drive compliance. So if we're seeing a team member on the 18th, which was yesterday, working on a file on a 2019 version of the template, that makes me a bit nervous, right? Because how outdated is this file? Number one, is it a customized file? There's a lot of questions that gets raised from that. Similarly, on the graph to the right, now you start asking questions about, have all my staff members upgraded to the latest version of Caseware? And this is very easy to tell because if you see in the last couple of days, someone's been accessing Caseware Working engagements file with a different version of Caseware Working Papers or an outdated version of Caseware, then you know this is something I need to look into. There's some red flags here. Because it also means if the file is based on an older version of Caseware, that means the template will also be outdated or an older version of the template. And lastly, we've got a summary overview of some of these templates. So just looking at the client, which we filtered by, the file name, what the year ends are, last modified date, access date, what's the financial reporting, right? Is it IFRS, is it SME, the version of XBRL and Pro. And there's a lot more that we can add to this, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I wanted to keep it simple, crisp, to the point, because it's about, like I said earlier, it's not about just what you see on these dashboards. It's really about what they enable you to do in your practice. And then for every one of these widgets, you have the option top right for every widget to say, I want to export this to Excel. I want to export this to CSV. And imagine you can get your Caseware engagement file information. So the file name, the year end, the last modified date, the audit report signature date, and you could work out the difference between, or rather a counter of when that file is supposed to be locked down based on the 60-day timer. You could literally monitor and track all of that. And again, it comes down to best practice. Right? If you're not capturing the information in a way that makes sense and that can be used, it limits your potential for reporting. So if you are capturing all that information in your engagement files and it's the best practice in your firm, you could have all of that in one table. You could export to Excel, and what happens then? Now you have saved, and I'm saying this number based on feedback, you've now saved about 4 or 5 hours of compiling that report. So let's just export visible fields, right? And it's going to export it, apologies, in a format that's in Excel. It's easily. There we go. Right. So now I can see all the data exactly as how I saw it in the grid, but it now allows me to say, well, give me the data from my my ERP system or for my accounting package, right? I want to see for each one of these clients, what was the revenue that we generated? So what was our invoicing, right? Or our billing rather? You could classify clients by high, medium, low risk, right? And all of this information is, for example, required when you do your IRBA fee declaration, right, annually. So imagine if you had all that data together, you could write or click on the export feature, and there's 70% of your data done, and all you need to do is link that up with your accounting package. That is where the value for Sherlock plays a pivotal role. We actually have a lockdown overview tab here. Just want to make sure the connection is still on. Yeah, it is. That's document manager. I think my permissions are restricted here. All right, we'll get back to the lockdown overview. Just the one thing I want you to note, right? Every tab, every dashboard has multiple tabs, and every tab has a set of controls that allows you to filter whatever you see on the document. Right, so I'm just going to minimize those controls. So in the document manager overview, right, here you can start seeing or start measuring the progress almost in your engagements, right? So I can see, which of these documents have been signed off and which ones have not been signed off based on specific roles. So some practices might only use 2 roles, right, to sign off their documents. Some use 4, and others could use up to 8 roles. 8 roles plus a different additional role sets. So this could really add up, and something like this allows you to very easily go and extract, that information. So 2 others that are quite important, and these 2 I've received a lot of requests from, right? So the one is, who are the users that are accessing these files, right? I want to make sure that only the team members that are on this engagement are accessing this file. If it's a restricted entity in my firm, right, I want to make sure that no one in the firm except very specific users have access, right? I don't even want an administrator to have access. And this allows you to see who's accessing the files and when they've been accessing it. And it allows you to really have a nice audit trail. Oh, I should mention that each one of these columns can be sorted, right, in ascending or descending order. All right, so I can see this user has accessed on the 18th has been accessing these files. The last one here, the last table, I think is probably one of the requests that I've gotten the most often over the last couple of months. And that is to say, I want to be able to see documents within my document manager that have been deleted. I want to see when it was deleted and who deleted it. And so we took that challenge up and we said, well, here's a list of all the documents in your document manager. What's the name of that document? Who the user is, and I'll explain this null user to you in a minute. Who the user is, when it happened, who's the client, and what's the file name, right? And obviously you can filter here on the top as well for your specific file name. So let's see, Barcelona Tech. Okay, so as I apply the filter to my client at the top, I can see, okay, so for this client, these roles have been signed off, role 2 and 3. Sorry, roles 1 and 2. Role 3 has a cross here, which means in this client, they potentially don't use that. I can see who the users are that's been accessing this file. But importantly, I can also see that there's no documents that have been deleted from this engagement file. So that kind of gives you a level of comfort. And I have to reiterate, these are all example visuals, and can really be extended, right, or expanded on. That's the right word. Based on what the need is. Right? Okay. The null user. Okay, so I wanted to explain this null user to you. We have certain optimizations, right, that we run on like some of our assurance products. And based on an optimizer running, because it's not a user per se deleting these documents, it records a user that's not a staff member. And again, you can set this up to say, well, if the user is, the optimizer, tell me that. Don't give me a blank field. So these are all options. It's very flexible to customize. I want to go back to this lockdown overview one. Right. So in this tab, again, we kept it very straightforward to say what is happening with the lockdown statuses across my engagements. Right. So similar to the previous widget you've seen, these are the number of engagement files. The table shows me engagements that have been locked down and that were modified after lockdown, because that's a big risk factor there. And again, it gives you my client name, file name, the year end of these engagements, the lockdown date, last modified date, and how many days after the lockdown was this file modified. And it highlights where there's been a modification after the lockdown. So I can go and say, well, again, show me my 2018 engagements. And I can see, okay, out of the 29, 2 are locked down, which is these top 2. But I can also see they were modified after they were locked down. And the rest of my 2018 engagements are unlocked at this point. Okay, so apologies. Okay, so I want to pause there just with the Sherlock reader and just kind of summarize for you. Right? So as Caseware Africa, we will be putting together standard, out-of-the-box dashboards that plug and play into your Caseware Cloud environment. These are the type of dashboards that you can expect. we are building onto these to keep iterating as we move forward. I want to touch quickly on the Sherlock API portion, right? And I think this was quite an exciting one. So what I did for this one, just want to make sure that everyone can still see my screen. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so what I did here is let's make this bigger. I did two things. So the one is using the data in Caseware Sherlock, right, through the API. I extracted that. I then went into my time and billing CRM system, and I extracted the correlating information from there. So now I can see, well, for each of these clients, and this is live dashboards that you can make interactive to work with others. I can see this client, we've spent this number of hours. These are the number of review hours, right? And what's the percentage hours that a partner has spent on this, or the audit senior, or the junior on the audit, and that starts giving you kind of an indication of how you would track your practice revenue and billing against your client and the size and complexity of your client, right? It allows you to bring those data points together and start reporting on that. And again, this is stuff that, or reports that happen in practices. It's almost a non-negotiable. You have to report on it to see how you're tracking, how you're trending, how you're forecasting your revenue and billing and stuff for the next year or 2 years. And it's important to do that as optimal as possible, right? Because you don't want to spend 5% of your time to find out that this partner has spent an additional 1% on a client, right? It's counterintuitive. So you need a mechanism to do this as efficiently as possible. And generally, the best way to bring a number of disparate systems together is really through an API link that's dynamic, right? That you don't need to download files or import data. You set it up once, you map the data fields, and you know that your table is going to be, or your data is going to be populated accordingly, right? So I want to show you this example, which is, just see, there we go. Similar to the one that we have in the dashboards that we just saw. And you'll notice what I tried to do here is say, well, yes, we can do this on the dashboards in Sherlock Builder or Reader, but we can do exactly the same through the API. Right? It allows me to view the same information. It allows me to customize my information differently, and again, like I said, to link it to other information. And then lastly, I want to touch on, let's make this smaller. I want to touch on the engagement properties one that we did, right? So in your engagement file, you have, you've got certain metrics that you use to measure the progress of your engagement, right? Some clients use the role sign-off on their engagement. Some clients use the sign-off of specific documents, right? Because if document 1 is signed off by a partner, it means my planning is done, as an example, right? So there's different variations. And again, this allows you to extract it based on whatever your requirement, whatever your best practice is, and bring it together, overlaid with any other data points, right? So in this example, I can see, well, there's my file completion progress. There's the list of my documents, and who signed off as completed by or reviewed by. And then I can also see for this engagement, well, what are the issues, right, related to this engagement, so part of this engagement. And I can see, is it due, is it overdue, is it coming up as due, and who is it assigned to, who needs to action this. And to have this ability to get into the office every morning, open a dashboard that's refreshed overnight to show you the latest data, and you can literally pull the key insights that you need in order to define your actions or next steps for the day, right, on your teams and engagements. Okay. So this is what the API enables of Sherlock data. Okay. I want to just jump back here. So I think just to summarize what we just went through. So there's 3 parts to Caseware Sherlock. Firstly, the data extraction happens automatically. There's no need for manual effort of compiling different data sets in order to do a report. The aim, what we're trying to get Sherlock to really support clients in driving practice efficiency, right? Driving internal processes and the best practices. So I keep mentioning the best practices, but it's such a key vital point to making sure that in your firm, apologies, there's standards, right? In your firm, you know that if you pull one report, it's going to be consistent. I don't need to, spend an hour double checking or cross checking data. It's there, it's available. I know everyone's following the same standards, so the data is populated correctly, right? So we want to try and optimize that efficiency on the practice management and the internal processes, right? So I want to give you a quick example, right? We had a client the other day that said, well, they got a call from one of the users to say, well, their file is not working and it doesn't want to open, and there were all these issues, and the champion had to spend apologies, I think it was about an hour and a half back and forth on email, and then join a call for another half an hour, only to realize that this team had been using an engagement file that was based on such an old and outdated template that it literally stopped working, right? And that is a massive risk. If you are using a 2014 template and you don't have sight or oversight into what your teams are doing and what the compliance templates are that they're using, right, it opens up a level of risk in the firm. So we're trying to improve the efficiency of the practice, reducing the manual effort. It's all about reducing the time spent on manual items in order to take that time and spend it on more value-added functions in the practice. Right? And then the big piece, and again, I'm going to reiterate the best practices, it comes to having confidence in your data. If you have this confidence in your data, it's literally limitless. What you can do and how you can interact and report on this data. Data is such a valuable asset in organizations, and the impact that it has on firms, on the industry, on competitors, right, is invaluable. Okay, what's next? So we have run Sherlock with a good number of clients. We've run a beta process. And what we've decided to do as of the beginning of October, so in a week and a half's time, is we said, well, we want to open Sherlock to every client that opts to want to have a look at it. So what that means is we're almost going to open it up to a beta for all of our clients. And because it's then applicable to, larger practices, smaller practices, one-man practices, you have the option to see what the value is that you can extract with it. Can I use it to actually optimize anything in my firm, right? And if so, yes, then I'm happy to get the software, right? Because we fundamentally believe that the possibilities that Sherlock enables for firms is just the reduction in time, right? Is gonna, I want to say, pay for a product on its own, right? And that's why we are opening this up to a beta trial run for all our clients to say, have a look at it for free. Let us know, what you think, because we believe it in the value that Sherlock offers. So you can expect in the next couple of days coming up to receive a survey, and the survey will ask you if you want us to enable Sherlock on your cloud instance. We have another release or update of Sherlock actually coming out on the 21st, which will just further enhance what the product can offer, right? Or support you rather. So the survey is going to go out. We ask all of you to, if you're interested, if there's anything that piqued your interest, even if you just want to have a look, and you right now have, no really drive to even, acquire software like this, I urge you to take the opportunity, use it, and see the benefits firsthand, see the value firsthand. And then everyone that opts in, we will enable Caseware Sherlock on your Caseware cloud. We will let you know, when it's done, but the idea is to have it all clients able to use Sherlock by, I think it's the 2nd of October, which is that Monday. And we will provide the current out-of-the-box dashboards that we've pre-built as Caseware Africa, and you've got the option to, just take it. There's no need for any intervention from any of the clients. You literally open Sherlock, you open the dashboard, and you start realizing the value that it provides. Okay. Right. I want to stop there for now. Again, I think I've spoken a lot. I think there might be a little bit of information overload, but I want to pause and just see if there are any questions, any comments that we can field. Okay, so there's a couple of questions, so let's just run through them. And I'm just going to read them as we okay, so will Sherlock be available on or via Caseware Cloud? Only available via Caseware Cloud. So as of right now, yes, Sherlock is an application that sits on Caseware Cloud and extracts it. However, and I didn't want to mention this because it's not available as of today, with Working Papers 2023, the functionality that's been added to that together with cloud will allow any clients that have on-prem engagements, which means you store your engagements on your file server in the office. It'll allow us to then extract it from those engagements, and you can report or view it on the cloud. Right? You don't need to upload any engagements to the cloud. So yes, as of today, it's only looking at cloud, only the engagements that's on your Caseware cloud. But come Caseware Working Papers 2023, like I said, a lot more opportunities or possibilities being open there. Will the software be able to pull a report for IRBA annual declaration purposes, meaning reporting all engagement types, registration numbers, PI score, opinion, etc.? So that answer for me is a yes and a no, right? Because not all this information, not all the information required for your annual declaration is in the Caseware engagement file. Whatever is in there, whatever is recorded, yes, can be extracted. So the type of engagement, the PI score, the registration number, the tax reference number, these are all fields that we have available in our templates today, right? And a lot of clients do fill in and do make use of these fields, which means, yes, the data is available immediately. The no part for me is you can extract all that from Sherlock without the need for any other analysis, but you would need to obviously bring in the part on the billing portion. Okay. With these functions, will you be able to filter by user, for instance, if managers just want to report on their engagements? Yes. So again, it all comes down to if you use the fields or the data available, the fields available in Caseware Working Papers, that means the data will be there, and that means you could use that data to filter dashboards. Right? And again, these are some of the reasons, right, that we want to open this up to what we're calling a market beta, to say, have a look at it, see what works for you, see what you might want to have added to it, right? And we determine, well, you know what, this is actually something that all our clients want, so let's build it by default and make it available to everyone. Okay, so yes, you would be able to do that. How do we get the beta version? So Clement, we're going to send out the survey to all delegates on the call today, and we'll give you the option to say opt in to get Sherlock enabled on your cloud instance. And like I mentioned, we want to make sure that everyone has access to it from now till probably the end of the year. Just go here. What will the cost be of Sherlock? So, Komari, the cost is variable, right? There's a couple of depending factors like, you know, how many users, for example, do you need to have access to Caseware Sherlock? Do you want Sherlock Builder to be able to build your own visuals, or do you just want to use the out-of-the-box visuals, right? So there's a couple of questions that will determine or define what the cost would be per firm. And we will make all of that available to you as the product becomes available to purchase. Because right now it's not purchase. We're just saying, there you go, have it. Will training be provided to customize visuals? So the visuals, I have to just note, is built on using Amazon's QuickSight services, right? Which means if you or someone in your firm has skills on data analysis, so having done it in like Power BI or QuickSights directly, they would be able to immediately do it here as well. However, we are working on a training module that will help. It'll be twofold, right? So the one will be identifying publicly available training material, right? That we can send to clients to say, go through this and you'll have 90% of the skill needed in order to customize your dashboard. The other 10% is what we will look at and provide. And that 10% is really, what are the fields, right? The Caseware fields. What do I pull? How do I link the fields together? That's the piece that we will provide training or consulting on. To upload files for this Caseware 2023 scenario, we'll have to convert the files on my own server to Caseware 23 first before I can view the information in Sherlock. So, that's twofold. So the one is it's actually the Smart Sync version, right? Smart Sync server, layer that is doing the extraction. So with Caseware Cloud and Working Papers Hybrid, you've got three components. You've got Caseware Working Papers on the desktop, where you use your engagement file. You've got a middle layer, which is Smart Sync Server, and Smart Sync Server does the extraction of the data. And then you have the third layer, which is Caseware Cloud. So the team will be using the second layer, which is a Smart Sync Server layer, to extract the data and be able to visualize it on the cloud. I think we all know it's not practical to say, well, convert all your engagement files just to be able to view it on the cloud. It doesn't make sense. So I hope that answers your question. So from your presentation, I deduced that Caseware Sherlock is meant for top management, engagement partner, and not really for audit teams members. Let's expatiate. All right, so again, I want to take your attention away from the visuals that you just saw, right? Because these are all example demo visuals that we've put together. Caseware Sherlock can be used by anyone in the firm. It all depends on what is the information that you want to see. It depends on the level of detail that you want to go into. It depends on, do you want a team member that's working on one engagement only to view it through Caseware Sherlock, right? Because that might not make sense. You might want them in the engagement file. So there's really a number of scenarios or reasons why you may or may not want the audit team members to use it, but it's absolutely an option. How long will the beta be available to all clients? With the SAST deadlines in October, I am afraid we won't have enough time to fully test and use all the features. So, Andre, that's a great point that you make there. And that's why we will make it available until the end of the year, right? So October, November, and December. And only in the new year will it be a purchasable product, if I can call it that, right? And at that point, also, we plan to have checked in with a good number of clients and optimize some out-of-the-box visuals, right? So that there's no need for in-depth customization of dashboards if you get 80% of the information you need on a generic dashboard. Q&A, that's a relief. Yeah, that is a relief. That's a question that I also had. Okay. I think I just want to make sure I covered all the questions. Cost, beta version. Yeah, those are all the questions that I have here. Let's see if there's anything in the chat. Okay, perfect. There's nothing in the chat. Great. So with that, everyone, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. It's more than an hour of your time. I hope you see the value that Sherlock can offer within your practice. I hope you see the potential that it's got in time saving and optimizing your internal processes and efficiency. Apologies. And I hope it shows you, or I hope this showed you how it can really help you drive your technology strategy within your firm. Right? An important discussion that I always have with clients, and this might be a little off topic, is how does technology directly translate to efficiency in my business, right? Because you could have a piece of technology for every single function in your business, but that means nothing, right? If they all work independently of each other. If they can't make use of the same data points, because now you have to capture data twice, you have to export data X number of times, you have to combine X number of Excel or CSV files, right? So it's about optimizing that journey as well for all our clients. So yeah, so I hope you all see the value. Please look out for the survey coming out. I want to say towards the end of the week, beginning next week. I'll check in with our marketing team. Opt in, and we will reach out and get Sherlock enabled for you. You can play around, break, give feedback, and enjoy it. Yeah. So with that, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to getting some feedback. Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll be in touch.